Let's now talk about some other important key terms involving argumentation theory, uh, attributive use or attributive concept, and the difference between referential and attributive concepts in real language use. I'll begin with attributive concept. Attributive concept comes to us from our commonsensical daily use of language. We do attribute things to different people, to different entities in our daily life. We do attribute qualities or other things in our life. For example, we might say a wonderful person. We might say an amazing car. So amazing and wonderful are two words which are attributing qualities uh, to a car and a person in these examples. Attributive concept is used in various senses in pragmatics, but in relevance theory, we see attributive concept working when a person or thing or an entity attributes something or attributes a concept to another person or entity, and this happens in different ways in different situations. A concept used in this way is sometimes called an attributive concept. Something which is being attributed is an attributive concept, and it is interpretive in nature. How it has been embedded by the speaker, and then how it has been interpreted by the listener. That would define the meaning of this attribution. And it can, as I said earlier, it can vary from situation to situation. Let's have a look at one of the examples here. An amazing thought entered into my brain. Here you can see that the word amazing or the quality of being amazing is an attribute of the thought. Argumentation theory is another term we will talk about here. This comes to us from traditional logic, or this theory in pragmatics takes a lot of help from traditional logic or Aristotelian logic. It believes in or it preaches the rationalization of various arguments we raise to support our communication. It happens in our daily communication as well as in our professional or academic conversation. So, argumentation theory focuses on a certain kind of discourse analysis based on the valid knowledge of various valid arguments, which usually comes to us from traditional logic, and especially the concepts of valid arguments or logical arguments as well as fallacies. Fallacies are those areas in which a certain statement may look all right emotionally or socially, but when we try to dissect that statement in terms of meaning, there seems to be a certain fallacy working there. I mean, we might have placed two different things together in a different way, which may look beautiful on the face of it, but rationally speaking, that may become an absurd thing. And in this way, one of the typical examples can be when we attach a wrong cause with certain occurrence in a way that it looks relevant, but in fact, it is not relevant. So, such a situation may be called a fallacy of logic. Argumentation theory is a subfield of pragmatics because it help us to understand language in its use, and it is more frequently used in understanding the language of media communication. Argumentation theorists involve both normative as well as the descriptive aspects of language use. They not only look how language has been or a certain phenomena has been described through language, but also what kind of communicative norms have been employed in expressing a certain phenomena. And that would help them understand how argumentation has been raised in a certain discourse or talk. Now I'll move to the difference between referential and attributive use. Attributive use is the one in which we attribute something to any individual, and we do not know that which individual is being referred to. This is a distinction between two apparently different ways of using definite descriptions, and this comes to us by a very prominent philosopher, Keith Donlan. One way of using a definite expression or description is to talk about whichever individual or a group of individual satisfies the material in the nominal restrictor. This is attributive use. I mean, you can say something about anything. For example, when you say a rich woman, so you would probably referring to any woman which is rich. For example, if I just say that he wants to marry a rich woman, so in this statement I am not referring to any particular lady who is rich, but to any lady which can possibly be rich. And therefore, this kind of use can be called attributive use. Another use is in which a definite description is to pick out and talk about a certain individual. When we refer to a certain individual and we attach a certain quality or certain occurrence with a certain individual, that would be called reference, as we do in our discourse also. We involve a certain person, and then in the following discourse we keep on referring back to the same person. So when we talk about a certain individual, particular individual, we are actually referring back to. So in this way, in simple terms, we can say that an attributive use is the one which attributes a certain quality to any individual, any possible individual, whereas a referential use is the one which refers to a particular individual. And examples can be many. For example, if I say the Jaguar driver has an unfair advantage in a race, and we know a race is going to be held somewhere, and we know Jaguar is a car which runs faster than other cars. So in this situation, we can say the Jaguar driver, whosoever he or she can be, has an unfair advantage over others. So it's not being referred to a certain individual. So in such situations, the use is attributive.